Hi there and welcome to Be Good Cooking School. Today we are making our third and final sweet treat in this delicious sweet treats series. It's a healthy ginger crunch. I can't wait for you to try it, it's amazing. Now there are three things that make this particular slice a little bit unique compared to what we've been making thus far. First of all, it is completely nut-free. That's right, we're not using any nuts at all, which make the slice really affordable, but it's also great if you are taking them to schools, nut-free schools, or if you've got members of the family that have allergies to nuts. The second thing is that I'm going to show you how to use liquid sweeteners in your recipes. So to date, we actually haven't used any liquid sweeteners. We've just been using whole foods like dates, vanilla, coconut. But today I'm going to use a little bit of liquid sweetener, an unrefined liquid sweetener in the icing, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the specific types of liquid sweeteners I prefer from a nutritional perspective. The third thing is that we are going to be adding in ginger to this recipe. Now ginger has been used for hundreds, thousands of years for things like digestion, circulation, and it's also detoxifying. So it's a wonderful ingredient that we can add into our sweet recipes to actually help them digest in the gut. Here's what you're going to need for this recipe. Some oats and desiccated coconut to make the flour for our base, a little bit of dates to help it stick together and also to give it some sweetness. We're also going to be using some delicious fresh ginger to add those beautiful digestive properties to the slice, some salt to bring out the sweetness, vanilla, which as you'll remember adds sweetness, a little bit of coconut oil to hold it all together, and then we're going to be stirring through a little bit of activated buckwheat to give it some crunch. For the icing, we're going to add a little bit of brown rice syrup or a liquid sweetener. We'll talk more about that. Some ginger powder and a little bit of extra coconut. And all we need to make this is a nice square tin. So first we're going to make the flour for our base. We are going to put a cup of oats and a cup of coconut in. I love using oats and coconut. Probably talked about it before, but I really love using them in sweet recipes because they are so much cheaper than using nuts, and they're also not as calorie dense. So if you're making delicious slices using all almonds and all cashews, they will taste amazing, but they are going to be a very sort of energy dense little bite or little sweet treat. And we will blitz those up and to make a nice fine flour. Perfect. And then we're going to add in our dates. Again, just regular dates, Deglet Nor are the ones they usually use. You don't need to get the fancy expensive medules, just as long as they're a little bit sticky. Now we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of freshly grated ginger. So just grabbing our ginger root. I don't really bother peeling it, to be honest. The peel kind of comes off anyway as you're grating it. And I'm going to grate up about 4 tablespoons here because we're going to be using some of this in the base and some of it in our icing. So you can see all that beautiful fresh ginger there. Heaps and heaps of flavour to it. So if you don't have fresh ginger, you could use just dried ginger powder, but I love adding in a little bit of both. It just adds to it amplifies the flavour. Couple teaspoons of that going in, and I do kind of pack it down quite a bit when putting it in because I really love that strong ginger flavour. Remember, we really want to get those digestive properties from the ginger coming through. Large pinch of sea salt. Remember that adding a little bit of salt to our sweet recipes again helps some of that sweetness to come out, so you're not having to add too much sugar. Tablespoon of vanilla extract, which again naturally adds sweetness. And you could use vanilla paste or vanilla powder here if you want. Instead of vanilla extract, I like making my own vanilla extract, and it's because it's cheaper. And let's blend it up. Okay, come and have a look at that. Oh my gosh, that smells amazing. You can see there that our mix, it's beautiful and sticky. That's just all that stickiness has come from a little bit from the coconut, from the dates, vanilla extract, and also that ginger has added some moisture in there too. So that is going to set really perfectly. Last step for our base is just to add in some of our activated buckwheat. Now you can buy buckwheat just as regular buckwheat from the store, and you could add it in like that. It's quite hard and crunchy, so I prefer to add in activated buckwheat, which again you can buy from the store, but it is quite expensive. you can also make this yourself. So if you go back and watch my video on activating nuts and seeds, you'll see how to easily make your own activated buckwheat at home. All you do is you soak the buckwheat groats overnight in a big bowl of water. The next day, drain them, give them a rinse, and then put them in a dehydrator and dehydrate them for 12 to 24 hours. Or you can do that in an oven on a low setting. But make sure you go back and watch that video so you can learn how to make your own activated buckwheat groats at like half the price of what you would pay in the store. And I love adding in activated buckwheat to this recipe because it gives it our crunch. Healthy ginger crunch. So this is what gives it that crunch. Buckwheat are also an amazing source of protein, around about 13% protein. So again, if you want to learn more about plant-based sources of protein, go back and watch my protein naturopathic circle seminar to teach you a little bit more about that. We're just going to pulse this through really lightly. We don't want to blend it, or you could just stir it through if you wanted to. Yum! Come and have a look at this. Can you smell it? Not quite, but you will be able to soon when you make it at home. But you can see that texture in there, yummy and sticky, and then it's going to have that crunch working through it from the buckwheat. If you prefer a stronger ginger flavour, you could actually add a couple of teaspoons of dried ginger powder to this base as well. So give it a taste test and see what you think, and you can always add that into the base if you want. Okay, let's have a little taste test. Yum. It's so good. It's so tasty, and there's no nuts in there. That's delicious. It's really good as is, but I'm going to add a tiny bit of ginger powder to this mix just for myself because I like the really strong ginger flavour. So I'm just putting in 2 teaspoons of our ground ginger powder. And that's going to make it super zingy. Maybe not so much a kid's treat, but I will like that. I like it like that. Round 2. Yeah, double ginger, I like it. I'm actually really excited about you making this recipe. It's so tasty. You're gonna love it. And so different to the last 2 that we did. Remember, so we've got our chocolate peanut butter fudge, then we did our carob coconut rough, and then this healthy ginger crunch is so different. And you can see that the actual steps to make it are not too dissimilar, right? So hopefully you're feeling really confident with how to make your own healthy sweet treats at home. And we'll just press that down till it's nice and firm. All right, we've been taste testing this way too much because it is delicious. So that's your base. Now you can just set that aside, or you could pop it in the freezer if you want to, either way. But we are going to now make our icing or our topping. Now the base for this icing is actually coconut. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make your own coconut butter at home. It's so easy to do. Literally, it's just blend up the coconut in your food processor. You can actually buy your own coconut butter from the store. So I've bought a jar here to show you, which has already been blitzed up and churned. It's quite expensive though, so that was about $14, whereas the coconut butter I'm going to show you how to make will literally cost you about $2. All you need to do is put your coconut into a food processor, desiccated coconut or shredded coconut. You need quite a lot because it does compact down. And what's going to happen here is as we blend it, it's going to add heat and start to release some of the oils from the coconut, and that's what's going to create our beautiful creamy coconut butter. If your food processor isn't super strong, and you can't make it on your own at home, then as I said, you can easily buy a jar from the store. And now all we do is blend. Okay, we're halfway there. Come and have a little look. You can kind of see that actually starting to almost get a little creamy around the edges. It's not quite there yet. One thing you can do to help it on its way is add a little bit of coconut oil. So I'll do that now just to help that butter start to create. All right, let's have another look. Yes, check this out. So that is coconut butter. I'll probably give it one more scrape down and blend one more time, but that you can see that the liquid has all released and it's creamy. Check that out. Homemade coconut butter for like $1. So that is perfect. Really pleased with that. Creamy, delicious, so good. You can make huge batches of that and actually just put it into jars and use that as a spread if you like to, on scones or toast or sort of, drizzled over pancakes. It's a really, really lovely spread you can make at home, and it's so cheap. But we're just going to go ahead and add our other ingredients. to our icing. So we've got another 2 tablespoons of our grated fresh ginger. Again, I pat it down to get quite a lot in there. You can see that I've got some skin going in there. Yeah, the skin's really good. A lot of the nutrients in our food is actually hiding just in between the food and the skin. So especially if you're buying organic, and that was a lovely organic ginger, then I love using the skin wherever possible. Right, this time we really are adding the ground ginger, but I loved it in the base too. So 2 teaspoons, another 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. Another pinch of salt. And finally, just a tiny bit of sweetener to the top of this icing. So you can see we've actually added no sweetener so far. We're going to get a lot of natural sweetness from that coconut, and then again that will be brought out by the sea salt, but I am going to add a little bit of liquid sweetener. Now I like using a couple of different liquid sweeteners, and I only use them sparingly. Brown rice syrup and coconut nectar are my 2 favorites. They are both really quite affordable, and they're minimally processed. So they're not as processed as like a golden syrup or any of the white sugars, icing sugars type thing. Brown rice syrup and coconut nectar would be my top 2. They're also really neutral in flavour. The other 2 that I do like using are yacon syrup. Is really low GI, so it's great if you're diabetic, but it is quite a bit more expensive. And then the last one I like using occasionally is maple syrup, if we want a specific maple syrup type flavour. But outside of that, brown rice syrup or coconut nectar are my top 2 go-tos. Blitz it up. Just give it a scrape down. This icing is quite a thick icing, so if you don't think it's liquidy enough, at this stage you could add in a little bit more melted coconut oil to it. But once you've pressed it down, it should set really nicely. And now just to press it on top of our slice. So all I'm going to do now is just sprinkle that with a little bit of extra activated buckwheat. You could also put a bit of desiccated coconut on the top if you wanted to. And then pop that in the freezer for a couple of hours to set. All right, so there we have our slice. It's been in the freezer for just over an hour. You want to cut?
Yeah.
So we are just going to cut that into slices and serve. All right, so we've just been having a little bit of a taste test, and yeah, that is crunchy, only very modestly sweet. It's actually really low in overall sugars, this slice. You can definitely taste that ginger coming through. Really great for your digestion, and of course it's 100% nut free. Oh, there you have it. Beautiful with a cup of tea. Enjoy.
I mean.